Today we will be talking about three-dimensional culture. We all have cultured mammalian cells in a 2D culture where we have put media in a T25 flask and the cells were adhering to the culture plate, forming a monolayer. So it was a two-dimensional culture. The major limitation of a two-dimensional culture is it does not provide a very good medium for studying cell-to matrix interactions. Although the cell-to-cell interactions could be studied with certain limitations, cell-to-matrix interaction is most of the time missing. Its actual architecture, cellular architecture, cannot be attained in case of 2D culture. Therefore, the mechanical stimulation that it gets from the other cells as well as the matrix is also missing. Cells are not in isolation in a normal physiological system. They are forming a 3D system where they are interacting with their neighboring cells, they are interacting with the matrix, and as a result of this kind of interaction, there is mechanical stimulation, there is electrical stimulation, there is cell to extracellular matrix interaction, cell to cell interactions. All these studies cannot be created in the two-dimensional culture. Moreover, if you want to study the actual stiffness of the tissue or the functions of the tissue, like whether it is able to carry out a physiological function like carrying of blood or secretion of hormones, secretion of bile using ducts, these studies also cannot be carried out in a two-dimensional culture. Because of all these limitations, 3D cultures are these days preferred over the two-dimensional culture. Although it is difficult to establish a 3D culture compared to establishing a 2D culture. 3D culture is widely used to study any kind of cellular movement and cell-to-cell interaction. Wherever there is study of cellular proliferation or cell invasion, migration, there we would like to prefer three-dimensional culture. We all know that angiogenesis is one of the preliminary requirement of tumorous growth. So if we want to study angiogenesis, that is formation of blood vessels, we again need 3D culture. If we want to study sensitivity or taxis of some kind of cell towards a certain chemokine, towards a certain chemical, again we require 3D culture. How are these 3D cultures created? For this, instead of media, we require scaffolds or matrix. Scaffold is anything that provides support. So this support could be a porous support which is made from either a natural substance like collagen, fibrin, glycosaminoglycans, chitosans, or it can even be made artificially. So these 3D scaffolds could be either synthetic or natural. Three types of 3D cultures are more popularly used. One is organ culture. Organ culture, we are culturing the entire organ or a part of the organ without disrupting the cellular architecture. And the intrinsic distribution, both spatial and number-wise distribution, is retained in the organ culture. Second is histotypic culture. In this, the cells are taken from the organ, disrupted completely, and then allowed to grow in a high density in a three-dimensional matrix, allowing them to rearrange or reaggregate to form the three-dimensional structure. This structure formation could be done with the support of a scaffold or a matrix, or can even be done in case of suspension. Third is organotypic culture, where we combine different cells obtained from different lineages and then study their interactions, both spatial interaction as well as number-wise interactions are important. So we are in this recreating the organ architecture. We are disrupting the organ, isolating the cells, and then reassociating them to build the new organ, taking care that the number and the spatial distribution should be mimicked to the original organ. Now we will discuss each of these three different types of 3D culture. Let's first discuss the organ culture. Now in organ culture, the main point is we should ensure that there is optimal amount of gas and nutrient exchange. Since we are retaining the original organ part, we are not disrupting the cellular architecture. Therefore, often it happens that the cells which are inside, they do not get proper gas and nutrients. Therefore, when the organs are cultured, they are generally cultured in small parts. So that small part will be representing the entire organ. While taking out that part, we should take care that it should be a representative of the original organ. So maximum type of tissues which are constituting that organ should be present in that small part of organ. Once you have taken out that part, then you can culture it in semi-solid agar based scaffolds, or as we have studied earlier, clotted plasma gives one of the preliminary type of support where the organ culture can be carried out. We have also talked about the raft culture, where the raft was made by lens paper or rayon, or could be even in the form of a grid, and on top of the grid or the raft we culture the part of the organ. So clotted plasma and raft grid culture were one of the preliminary types of organ culture, which is now being replaced by plexiglass culture or filter well inserts. Remember, we talked about filter well inserts where there is a basement layer. Top of that we have the matrigel or the collagen, and the cells are supposed to migrate from one compartment to the other compartment. Similar to filter well culture, filter well inserts, we also use the same setup for studying cellular invasion or angiogenesis. So these are the common types of supports or the protocols for organ culture. Now we will be talking about histotypic and organotypic culture. Unlike organ culture, here we are using isolated dissociated cells. In organ culture, we did not dissociate the tissue, did not isolate single cells. In case of histotypic and organotypic culture, we will be isolating the tissue and then dissociating it into single cells. Will sort these single cells depending upon either their structure or their function or their morphology or their some kind of different interactions. They will be sorted into different types of cells. Later than cells, these cells could be cultured in a organotypic fashion or a histotypic fashion. For an histotypic culture, the cells can be seeded either in the form of a gel, or it can be seeded in the form of fibers, or it can even form spheroid type of culture. In case of organotypic culture, we are trying to rebuild the three-dimensional architecture of the organ. So that is generally possible if we are using either filter well culture or three-dimensional tissue architecture concentric capillaries, which can remodel the 3D culture in a shape of an organ. So in histotypic culture, we can grow the cells in a scaffold made of either cellulose or gelatin in the form of a sponge, that is a porous scaffold, and in that porous scaffold the cells are allowed to penetrate. Those scaffolds could again be coated by different types of collagen layers or polyl lysine layers, which will help the adherence of the cells in these different types of scaffolds. This technique is called as gel and sponge technique, and in this we can make the gel or sponge with the help of either your collagen or even Matrigel. Matrigel is a very popular 3D matrix which is commercialized or made by BD Bioscience. It's a company's name, BD Bioscience, and they were the first one to come up with this Matrigel, which uses EHS mouse sarcoma line. It's a cell line. It is EHS mouse sarcoma, from which they are isolating the extracellular matrix, and this extracellular matrix contains laminin, collagen, fibronectin, proteoglycans, and you can even add some different types of growth factor. So this gel and sponge could be made either from gelatin or from collagen or even Matrigel, which is a very popular commercial product. Even there could be small hollow capillary like structures. You make a bed of plastic capillary which will carry your carbon dioxide, your medium. So the medium will be inside the capillary and the cells will be outside the capillary, and there will be a continuous gaseous and nutrient exchange. However, there will be no mechanical stress. Remember, we studied something like this in case of our large cell bioreactors as well. So in case of histotypic culture, gel and sponge is a technique where we can use the gel or sponge made of collagen or gelatin or Matrigel. We can use capillary beds as well. Another very popular histotypic culture is the spheroid culture. In this, we dissociate the cells, and those dissociated cells are grown in a shaker. Those are called as gyratory shaker. We know that there is something called as radius of gyration, which determines the rotation speed as well. So here the shaker is rotating at a particular speed which can be controlled by us, and during this rotation the dissociated cells tend to aggregate again. That is called as reaggregation or reassociation into clusters. So some cells which are of the same type, they reaggregate. It is called as homotypic reaggregation. And when we have a mixture of cells, then the cells are capable of sorting themselves in different types of groups, forming a tissue-like structure. So that is called as heterotypic aggregation. And this type of spheroid culture, which allows for both homotypic and heterotypic aggregation and helps in generating a tissue-like architecture, is proving to be very essential or useful for studying tumor morphology or tumor physiology, especially when we are trying to study cellular invasion. So spheroid culture is also a very important histotypic culture. Now we will be talking about organotypic culture. Now, just like histotypic culture, organotypic culture is also established from the dissociated cells and cultured in scaffolds. So how is organotypic culture different from the histotypic culture? Histotypic culture, we generally culture a single type of cell which are being grown in a three-dimensional scaffold. In an organotypic culture, we are trying to mimic the organ-like structure or organ cytoarchitecture. An organ is made of different types of tissues, and these tissues are made up of different types of cells. So some of these cells will be more in number, some of these cells will be less in number. So we should know the actual ratio of the cells in which they are present in a particular organ if we are trying to rebuild a organ-like structure, or we are trying to make a organotypic culture. So we are mixing the cells of these different tissues in different ratios in which they are actually found in the organ, and then culturing them together in the scaffold. So we are trying to rebuild the structured microenvironment and as well as trying to maintain the cellular polarity. So it is a system where there is enhanced differentiated structure present, which resembles that of the organ. So this microenvironment was not there in case of histotypic culture. We were not worried about the cellular polarity in case of histotypic culture. So in an organotypic culture, we are providing better heterotypic cellular interactions, better cell-to-cell interactions. If we are trying to study the effect of diffusible factors from one cell to other, that also we are able to study in a better way. Cellular signaling, interaction with the extracellular matrix, interaction with a particular type of cell within the tissue is all recaptured in the organotypic culture, which was not there in case of your histotypic culture. For developing these organotypic cultures, we need to build the scaffolds in different shapes. So these scaffolds could be in the form of a fiber, in the form of a narrow capillary tube, form of a two-dimensional mesh, three-dimensional mesh, in the form of spheres, three-dimensional cube-like structure which we call as sponge. So choosing a different type of three-dimensional matrix is also very important for generating the organotypic culture. And how do we choose that? It will depend what we are trying to make. If we are trying to make a liver-like structure, we will probably go for a sponge kind of a scaffold. If we are trying to redevelop the blood or vascular system, we will try to go towards fibrous system or tube-like system. We are trying to develop the capillary bed, we will go for microcapillary bundles. So depending upon what type of organotypic culture we are interested in, we need to design the scaffold as per that. So these scaffolds could be made of natural scaffolds like collagen or your cellulose, starch, alginate, or synthetic like polylactic acid, polyglycolic acid, polycarbonate. All these can be even mixed. Scaffolds are also being used, some natural, some ratio of synthetic. So in a different proportion we can make a mixed scaffold depending upon what we are trying to build. Earlier people were aiming for non-biodegradable scaffolds. Now the trend is to use a scaffold which is biodegradable. So once we have the cells in the scaffold, we will use that biodegradable scaffold to repopularize the cells in the actual location, and once the cells start proliferating, once they have established themselves in the actual cellular location, the scaffold will slowly degrade away, leaving only the cells or the tissue which we are trying to generate. So these are the ways by which we can generate organotypic culture. So we have now studied about three different types of 3D culture, that is, one is organ-like culture. In this we generally after grid method, which we have already discussed in the earlier classes. Second is histotypic culture, where we can do the cell culture in a three-dimensional matrix, either in the gel or sponge form. We can use hollow fibers or even spheroid cultures. And finally the organotypic culture, where we are making the scaffold which will be most suitable architecturally to the organ that we are trying to develop, either in the form of fiber, tube, nanocapillaries, or your mesh, sponge. These are the different types of scaffolds which can be made either by the help of natural elements like collagen, laminin, or even synthetic elements like polylactic acid, polyglycolic acid, and even these natural and artificial or synthetic scaffolds could be mixed to form mixed scaffolds to give different properties, different mechanical properties to the scaffolds. Entire content of this presentation has been adapted from Culture of Animal Cells by R. Ian Freshney, 6th edition, chapter 25. Thank you.